You can forget all those usual tales of gods and monsters for a minute. Today, we're actually climbing to the mountain peaks for a totally different kind of fable. This one's all about the soul's fight, a fight for a vibrant, meaningful life against this suffocating pull of just being average. This is the story of the Tarantula and the Dancer.
And right away, this quote just throws us headfirst into the core of it all. It makes you ask, right? Is real happiness found in being safe and comfortable? Or is it something wilder, something more primal? The idea here is that what we so often call happiness is really just a compromise, a retreat into what the Source calls a shadow life.
So before we can really appreciate the dancer up on that mountain peak, we have to understand the world they're running from. So let's go down, let's descend into the stagnant marshes, into what this fable calls the hive of the last man, a world of, you guessed it, stifling, sterile order.
And here you can see it laid out side by side. These are the two opposing forces in our story. On one side, you've got the hive. Yeah, it's safe, it's got common comfort, but it's absolutely poisoned by this hidden resentment. And on the other side, the mountain. It's chaos, it's joy, it's power, it's this endless obsidian sea of possibility. This is the big conflict we're going to dive into. Okay, so who actually lives in this hive? Well, it's the last man. And listen, this isn't just one person, it's a type. A figure who wants to flatten every single peak into one predictable valley. They can't stand greatness, they're terrified of risk, and what they want more than anything is a life without struggle, which of course means a life without any real triumph.
And who keeps everybody in line? The tarantulas of the spirit. Now, we're not talking about actual spiders here. No. These are the preachers of pure, cold rationalism. They weave these intricate webs of logic to kind of trap the sun. But underneath all their talk of logical optimism, they're secreting a venom, a deep, hidden revenge against anyone who dares to be different, to be exceptional.
Wow. This really paints a picture, doesn't it? It's such a striking image. The air down there isn't thin because you're high up on a mountain where it's pure. No, it's foul because it's stagnant. It's just thick with the rot of envy and a life without any passion.
So, what's the main weapon these tarantulas use? It's not brute force. It's an idea. A venomous concept that, get this, pretends to be a virtue. Let's talk about the pull of what's called the spirit of gravity.
The spirit of gravity. You know this feeling. It's that impulse in society that just can't stand to see someone rise too high. It wraps itself up in the language of fairness and justice, but its real goal? To drag every single heroic climber right back down to the same mediocre level. To make absolutely sure that no one ever truly soars.
Man, the language here is just so sharp. This isn't the kind of equality that lifts everyone up. No, it's a venom. It's meant to paralyze. Its whole purpose is to stop movement, to stop the dance, to turn that vast, incredible obsidian sea of life into a tiny, manageable, and totally lifeless puddle.
And just look at their tactics. They use pity like a leaden cloak to weigh people down. They slander the beautiful, messy, often tragic truth of what it means to be alive. And maybe worst of all, they try to erase suffering because they just don't get that it's a sacred ingredient for growth, for depth. These are the weapons of gravity, and they're all designed to just stifle the soul.
So, you're faced with this overwhelming pull downwards, right? This web of logic and resentment is everywhere. The question becomes pretty urgent. How in the world do you break free? How does the dancer possibly keep dancing?
And the answer? It's so elegant, it's profound. You don't win by getting tangled in the web, arguing with the spiders. You don't fight them on their own turf. You escape by rising above them, by dancing with so much lightness and so much joy that their gravity, it just can't reach you anymore.
All right, enough of the swamp. Let's finally turn our attention upward, to the dancer, the absolute opposite of the last man. This is the ascent. We're climbing out of the muck and into the clean, crisp air of the mountain peaks.
So, meet the hero of our fable, the overman, the dancer. And what makes this figure so special? It's this almost alchemical ability to turn poison into medicine. They literally take the venom, the resentment, the criticism, and they transform it into fuel, a stimulant for vitality, a reason to live even more intensely.
And this slide just nails the core difference in their worldviews. The tarantula wants to control everything, to shackle time with rigid logic. The overman, though, they practice something called amor fati. They embrace everything, even the random, spiteful attacks from the hive, as a necessary part of their own story.
So what is amor fati, really? It's way more than just putting up with things. It's an active love of your own fate. It's the conviction to want nothing to be different, not the good times, and especially not the bad times. It's seeing every single event, every spider's bite, as a necessary and, yeah, even beautiful piece of the destiny that you are writing for yourself. And this whole philosophy, it leads us to the dancer's ultimate state of being. It's about a total, complete affirmation of life, a resounding yes to every single part of it, which all leads to what the source calls a mystical marriage.
So how do you get this primordial joy? Well, the fable gives us a kind of recipe. First, you have to embrace conflict, not run from it. Then you affirm that everything, and I mean everything, is sacred, even the ugly parts. You learn to say yes to the venom just as much as you say yes to the ecstasy. And when you do that, you unite the raw, chaotic energy of life with structured, elegant beauty.
So let's just boil it all down. This table makes the choice we're facing crystal clear. The path of the last man? It leads to security. Sure, but it's a hollow, protected life because they see suffering as some kind of mistake that needs to be erased. The overman, the dancer, seeks intensity. They write their own destiny precisely because they understand that suffering is a sacred, necessary ingredient for a truly full life.
And we can end with this incredible poetic line. Let them. Let the critics and the levelers spin their webs of safe gray theory. Because true, lasting, eternal creation, it doesn't come from that. It comes from the writer of blood, the one who lives so fully that they write their story with their entire being.
So the last question this fable leaves us with is, of course, a personal one. Where's your arena? Where is your marketplace of the spirit? And when you're faced with that inevitable pull of gravity, with the whispers of the tarantulas, what story are you going to choose to write?